What are we seeing here then?
Well, we're seeing the flood waters start coming in at the corner of the yard, and of course it bubbles up through the drains.
Sarah David is exhausted. She's been unable to sleep for the last few nights. The river at the bottom of her garden in Oxford has burst its banks. Her boat is underwater. She's worried her home will be next.
Well, it's been very unnerving and frightening. You don't know about water. It's so unpredictable, and we flood moderately easily, comes into the kitchen, sewage all over the place.
For now, a pump is keeping the water from Sarah's back door. On the street at the front of her house, water is coming up from the sewers.
So what we have here is a temporary flood barrier where river levels have been really high following all the heavy rainfall we've had recently, and this membrane is protecting these homes on this street from flooding. Our teams have been installing these barriers here in Osney and in other areas around Oxford, protecting several hundred homes. We expect to see more frequent and more severe weather with climate change, and we do expect that to increase the risk of flooding for many people across the country, which is why we're investing so much and have invested so much in recent years in improving flood resilience across England and specifically here in Oxford.
Once the floodwaters have subsided, the barriers will be removed, but there are plans for a more permanent solution.
People living here in Oxford are long suffering when it comes to scenes like this, but there are plans to build one of the country's largest flood prevention schemes here. The Environment Agency wants to create a new river to the west of the city. The idea is to divert water away from homes and businesses.
Not everyone supports the scheme, so a public inquiry is currently underway. The canal that runs through the city now looks more like a lake in parts. Watery landscapes also common in Nottinghamshire and Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire. The Environment Agency has warned there could be more significant river flooding in the Midlands, Lincolnshire and on the River Thames.
It needs a lot of investment coming from sort of governmental and even, international levels. And it needs a whole sort of rethinking and redesign the investment that goes into managing our flood risk.
This afternoon, the government announced more financial support for those affected by flooding. But that's unlikely to pacify its critics, who say it isn't doing enough to tackle climate change. The former minister, Chris Skidmore, quit yesterday over the issue.
Chris Skidmore has done the right thing.
Labour were quick off the mark, campaigning in his Kingswood constituency in Gloucestershire today. In the north of the county, in Tewkesbury, there's little sign of any let-up for those forced out of flooded homes. A yellow cold weather alert is expected to last well into next week.